please tell us about your wonderful work. You started it after Fukushima. It's such a renowned platform. So how has it been to run Nuclear HotSeat?
Nuclear HotSeat has been a thing unto itself that I serve. I initially got the impulse to do it 3 months after Fukushima while I was on a camping trip and mourning the losses that we were facing on the planet, when suddenly I got this impulse. It was like a voice in my head saying, you will do your first podcast this Tuesday. And after arguing it for a little bit, the following Tuesday, I did a conference call, and there were 2 people on it, and the show has grown from there. I have produced it every week. Full disclosure, I missed 2 because of illness, but that's in an almost 7-year period of time. And it has been a journey into truths that have been hidden from not only the American people, but from the world, and a pretty terrifying picture of what we have already done to ourselves, and that hopefully we can still turn around.
You have a vast experience in media, starting from producing plays and videos and audios. Why did you think podcast is the best platform for Hot Seat?
My broadcast experience goes back to my first degree, which was radio, TV, communication. And I worked for a lot of major operators. I worked for WGN, for WGBH, I worked for Fox Broadcasting before they had a news division, which was the time to be there. The reason that I chose podcast is that it's under my control, because I am not with any major broadcaster. I do not have a fortune behind me. There's no network saying, oh, please come on and talk about nuclear things that contradict what our advertisers are telling us. Podcasting allows for total freedom, and it also allows for international reach. And those things are both important because nuclear impacts the entire planet. There are activists against it all over the world, and we have never had a consolidated place to put our voice out. And that's one of the things I seek to do with the program, is be as inclusive as I possibly can about the variant voices and the different issues around the world, because it all breaks down to the same issue.
You have interviewed hundreds of people in this 7 years. Any couple of interviews which you think have been remarkable, and could you tell us why?
I think the answer to that changes every week, because it's always the most recent one I've done that seems the most remarkable, because it's right at the cutting edge of what's happening. But in thinking back, certainly the interviews I have done with Alison Katz of International WHO to give us the huge background of what actually happened at Chernobyl and how the World Health Organization manipulated that data to understate the seriousness of what we were subjected to. In conjunct with her, Dr. Alex Rosen of International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War in Germany has been a powerhouse of information on Fukushima and how that has been manipulated everywhere. Oh gosh, there are so many of them. One of my favorites of all time was with Susanna Frame, who is an investigative TV reporter with King 5 News in Washington State, in Seattle. And she has been doing breakthrough award-winning work on the Hanford site. And we talked about what it's like to be a woman in media against this kind of an issue, and what it has taken for her to investigate it. So, you know, and so many interviews with so many activists on aspects of these stories that one can't even imagine are all out there. My favorite question that I have ever been asked was by somebody in the entertainment industry, who, when I told her I did a weekly program on nuclear issues, she very cavalierly said, "Do you mean that there's enough information on nuclear to fill a program every week?" And I really want to show her the pile of unused stories that I have on any given week, because there's not enough time to get them all in. And the interviews are, of course, extraordinary, because these are remarkable people doing astonishing work against crippling odds around the world.
Well, I was just about to come to that. On the one hand, we have to be accurate in responding to the claims of the nuclear industry, and on the other hand, you have to make it palatable and easy to understand for your audience. So how do you manage that balance?
I work as a translator of the information because I am a much more typical person than someone who's been immersed in this issue for decades. I was at 3 Mile Island when it happened, and in the wake of that, you'd expect me to become an activist. But I had so much post-traumatic stress because of that experience that I couldn't go there. So I went the opposite direction. I shut out all things nuclear. I ignored Chernobyl when it happened. So it wasn't until Fukushima that I kind of got my wake-up call and I jumped into action to try and make up for all those years that I wasn't. And because of that, because I'm not a scientist, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a mathematician, I'm not, any kind of a geek or a wonk on any of this stuff, it was all brand new information to me, and I had to learn how to understand it. If I understand something, I can convey it with that understanding to other people. And while I add my own interjections of humor or emotional reaction or outrage, I always stick to the facts that are there, that are verifiable, that I find from the world's media.
Yes, and this leads to the next question. What is the status of your book? And we are all looking forward to it.
Thank you. The book is entitled Yes, I Glow in the Dark, 1 Mile from 3 Mile Island to Fukushima and Nuclear HotSeat. And it's really the story of what it takes to become an activist, or what it took for me to become an activist, having come out of the 1950s Cold War, all bad things nuclear are going to come from the Russians' propaganda, up to what we are facing today, and the founding of Nuclear HotSeat and all the rest. It's been difficult for me to know how to end the book because the story is ongoing, but I've got a handle on it. I wanted to try and get it ready for this year for either the Fukushima anniversary or the 3 Mile Island anniversary, the end of March. I don't know that I will get it by then, but it will be out this year very soon. And I hope people find it and find it
looking
enjoyable.
Forward to it. So the last question is, now we are entering 8th year of Fukushima. It's already 7 years and the accident is still ongoing. Nuclear industry is still expanding, including in the US. They are trying every trick in the book to get the subsidies, to set up new power plants, to commission new reactors. How do we deal with this as time passes after Fukushima?
It's an ongoing process of making noise in any way you can. Get the facts. Don't exaggerate the facts. Don't go into echo chamber. Always make certain that whatever you are following is valid. I put myself there. There are many other sites that you can trust their information. Write letters to the editor. Write to your legislators. If you hear a radio talk show where they're talking about this issue and they're just being stupid about it, or they're just being pro-nuclear about it, jump in on that. One of the things that I have found here in the United States is that the horrible pro-nuclear propaganda film Pandora's Promise, which was a bomb at the box office, and everybody said, oh, nothing's going to happen with that, has been approved for viewing in the schools of the LA Unified School District, of the Los Angeles Unified School District. Let me start that one again for you.
Yeah.
The pro-nuclear propaganda film Pandora's Promise, which was a bomb at the box office, and everybody went, oh, good, we're done with that. They were actually playing a much longer propaganda game on that because, among other things, it has been approved for showing in the Los Angeles Unified School District. And I know of instances where it has been shown to high school science classes with no contradictory wording, except for the daughter of a friend of mine who knew the facts and came back to the teacher, and the teacher had no answers. But we need to check to see where that film is in terms of the approval process and counter it. I mean, there are so many things that people can do. Watch the documentaries, watch Atomic Homefront, watch, God, I'm blanking on the names of so many of them, but there are films that are out there that will educate you. But start learning and learn what the nuclear situation is in your area, and don't think you don't have one. because there are nuclear reactors. There are former nuclear weapons manufacturing sites. There are people who are downwind from the atmospheric tests that took place in Nevada. There are people who are downwind from uranium mines. We are all impacted by this. And like I say on the show, we are all in the nuclear hot seat.
Okay, Libbe, one more question. This is a really long battle. What keeps you going? What?
Damned if I know. There is a compulsion that I have. It's like the show has its own energy now. And I cannot imagine my life without it, because I get to use my skills and be of service. And I'm endlessly curious when things come up, and the show allows me a platform for contacting people who have information and say, can you explain more about this? And oh, by the way, can I record you to have you on this program? So I get my curiosity satisfied, and hopefully other people as well have access to the information. And the more informed we are, the better we can be at countering all of the nuclear disinformation that is put out there. I mean, we're on a bake sale budget compared to the multiple millions of dollars that the nuclear industry pours into it. And still, we are making progress, especially here in the United States. Things, I believe, are changing. And we need every possible person to take every possible step so we can keep turning this thing around. And that's what I'm dedicated to. That's why I do the show every week.
Thank you so much, Libbe. All the best to your show and everything that you do. You're wonderful. Thank you.
And you're wonderful too, Kumar. Thank you so much.